Namaskar. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community. This Sunday in our special weekly edition, we welcome you for a recap of some of the stories of past week. We'll begin with a conversation where Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams talks about the impact of COVID-19 and the measures to handle this crisis situation. We'll also have a special edition of This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh. He talks about several important current issues. We'll also have AAPI President Dr. Suresh Reddy talking to us about the hotspots related to COVID-19 cases. And Mayor of Montgomery Township, New Jersey, Sadaf Jaffer, talks to us about response to COVID crisis. In today's Vision of Asia, we also have South Asian Republican Coalition celebration of 4th July at Royal Albert Palace, and we'll conclude today's Vision of Asia with a special report from Times Square, where Indian American community members gathered to show their support for India and to seek ban for Chinese products. So all this coming up right after these messages. Stay with us. You're watching Vision of Asia, Voice of the Community on ITV Gold. As we open with today's first story, Brooklyn Borough President also has been proactive in responding to the challenge posed by COVID-19 crisis. He has visited several hospitals, has encouraged many health workers. He talked to us about the response to COVID-19 crisis and the current status in this situation.
Still moving ahead in reopening phases, while the rest of the nation, about 31 states are seeing a spike in COVID-19 cases, with 24 that have paused or rolled back on their reopening. What is your comment on what is happening and its impact on New York, and how important is it for us to sort of monitor this reopening in the city?
Well, I believe that you're seeing success in New York only because of New Yorkers. One thing about us, we have gone through tragedies before, and we always respond according to those tragedies. After September 11th, there was a real call of see something, say something, and New Yorkers did just that. We know how to follow directions. When you live in a close confined community in a city like New York City, where following instructions means a lot, this is something we're used to. And when the call was put out, face coverings, when it was put out, social distancing, and even shelter in place, many of us follow those orders, no matter how busy our city may have been at the time.
Yes, definitely. In terms of looking at these cases that are rising in other states, Brooklyn Borough President, are you concerned about New York and another surge of cases here due to the other states that are showing increase in cases?
Yes, we are, and I believe the governor and the mayor talks about those who are visiting, particularly those hot spots, those locations where you're seeing increases, like Florida, California, Arizona. We have to be extremely conscious and ensure that when people come here, that they really shelter in place for a period of time, because we don't want to go back to where we were at the peak of this pandemic.
Yes, this brings me to a very important discussion on racial disparity and its impact on the Brooklyn borough itself. What communities have been impacted the most? And when you're looking at this disparity, how intense is that impact in Brooklyn?
It has been, Brooklyn has been hit extremely hard. New York City, as you know, was the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic. Brooklyn was the center of that center. The first death took place in Brooklyn. Some of the largest number of cases happened in Brooklyn. And when you look at what happened at the beginning of the virus, we did not give the proper resources to Brooklyn. We failed to properly analyze our resources and make sure that there was an equitable distribution, and what I like to say, in real time. And I think because of the slow response on the state and city level, there were some serious problems that led to a high number of hospitalization, and even in some cases a high number of deaths. It's unfortunate that the virus did not discriminate on who would actually catch the virus, but we had clear discriminatory processes on how we protect the people of the city. And I think it was a bad decision to divide the city into essential and non-essential employees, because we sent the message that some New Yorkers were more important than others, and that should have never happened.
Just on education, just one question I had. Today, ICE announced a big ruling towards international students, and they're saying that if they don't go back into an in-person school, they may not be allowed to live in the country. Is there any comment you have on ICE's announcement?
A bad decision, wrong decision, and we can't allow politics to get in the way of education. Clearly, this is a political stunt. I believe it's imperative the young men and women who study at our academic facilities play a vital role in the actual functionality of this country. We are who we are because of our diversity and all of the ideas that come here. People come here because they want to be part of the American experience. And while they're here in school or while they're here in being employed, they contribute to this country, and we need to continue to allow them to continue their studies, either online, remotely, or inside a classroom.
You're watching Visual Asia Voice of the Community on ITV Gold, and now we bring our weekly segment this week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh. He shares his objective analysis to some of the hot button issues. Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and I'm delighted to be welcoming Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh for this special weekly segment. Doctor, welcome.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Namaskar.
So much is happening in the world, and I want to begin by what we have heard here in America with respect to President Trump's decision that is going to affect a lot of foreign students. Talk to me about what might be the logic behind it.
Well, I mean, this is a not very welcome decision for any foreign students, including Indian students or students from India. And as you know, there are 1 million students are here, are foreign students. And largely, most of the universities' revenue depends upon that. So almost 20% of the revenue comes from the foreign students. So this decision is, as far as I'm concerned personally, I think it's not welcome, because that will affect, that will hurt our students coming from the India and any other countries. So I think it's not great, but the reason behind this thing is that twofold. Number one, what they want to do is they gave them last 3 months to correct this problem of online education, because we know that historically online education has a lot of fraudulent degrees and all those things. Not every university, but there are universities like that. So in order to prevent that, what government told all the universities that okay, in March, that okay, right now you can go online, but by July you must come up with the plan where student can have online and in-person education. Then and then they can be enrolled in that course. And so if foreign students, they are already gone back home and doing online, they for them, they don't want them to come back. And number two, I think other reason behind it, because again is the election year, so government or administration wants to give more space or more seats to the American citizens rather than foreign citizens.
I think you made both points are pretty valid, but let's analyze the first one where the way things are unfolding, to have more people in close proximity is not advisable. So universities are finding it a challenging task first to shift to online courses. But now look at it from the point of view of student. If he's here, and as you mentioned, if he's here from India, they pay top dollars, which also help American economy. These kind of decisions are likely to adversely affect the overall image of America among foreign countries, and especially talking about it from the point of view of students.
Yes, I mean, if you speak emotionally, yes, you are right, absolutely. But the same token, on the fairness, that government has given them 3 months of notice to come up with the plan where they can have online and kind of hybrid online and in-person education. And somehow most of the university did not do that. And that's why, because even though if you make it in person, still you can maintain the social distance by having smaller classes and sometime even smaller group training or teaching. So I think that social distance it doesn't affect here. It is not the case. So I think, and that's why the immigration policy is such that there is I think, if I'm not wrong, there is a statute there. All the education has to be in person, not online. And they cannot change the statute unless they have to go through a lot of other legal maneuvering before they do that.
So talking about the legal side of it, today there is a news that MIT and Harvard have filed case against Trump administration, calling that this provision which is introduced is illegal. And I must also admit that very few places you will find the reference that they were given 3 months of notice or anything. What they are saying is that I'm not just saying emotional basis. Economically and practically also, one, you don't have many flights going back to your country. 2, you have to spend a lot. 3, you are also taking the risk by traveling during these days. And so there are multiple complicated scenario. But to bring back to your attention towards the case filed by MIT, Harvard, and probably other universities are likely to join. So
no, I agree, because they have what you call kind of vested interest of their economic revenue. But we don't know the details of the law, right? At least I don't know the detail of the law. So it's very difficult to opine who is right and wrong. But if they have filed in the court, then I think that's the best thing. Court will give the judgment, and that judgment is usually in democracy is a final.
Absolutely. And now the other aspect related to this decision, and you said that it is election year. So do you see that this is a populist decision and it strengthens the image of President Trump being America first and would sort of be welcomed by his core base?
Probably. So, because always when you, in election years, when you talk about America first, the people who are American citizen, they would welcome, because they will look at the different angle, right? We Indian American look at the different angle, because we want our brother and sisters, um, children should not suffer, and it is not fair to those people, those who paid large sum of fees, and that is a very sudden decision is unfair to them. So yes, that's why I say that this decision might have some political angle too. We don't know.
What we know now, let us go towards the overlap space where America and India are in agreement, and that is with reference to China. Um, we have heard that after 2 hours of negotiations or discussion between NSA Ajit Doval and his counterpart from China, uh, the armies from both sides have started the process of de-escalation. How do you see this whole situation at this point in the context of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership?
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership is really very strong, very great, and very proactive, and India first. He has to he has to defend territory of the India, and he's doing it. So, and this escalation is a most welcome step by both the countries, and hopefully it stays like that. But looking at the history of the China, usually China violates this kind of commitment.
In this context, recently India banned 59 apps, including TikTok, etc. So American leaders are also expressing their opinion that America should also ban some of the Chinese apps. Now, if we look at the positive development to continue in terms of Indo-China relationship, one, how do you see, will there be a reversal of decision with respect to apps in near future?
Probably, if everything resolves diplomatically, and if you would like to go back to better India Sino-India relation, then yes, eventually it will reverse, because that's how the things works in diplomatic circle. That first we want to get something what we want without escalating the war or war-like situation, and then slowly, in order to get better Sino-India relation, we have to have give and take. Now, in this context, that we have a think tank, is first and only think tank in USA, political think tank in USA, which owned by Indian American, that is Dr. Sudhir, Parikh, myself, and it's not his name is Parikh Parikh Foundation for India's Global Development. That's the name of the think tank, and we have quarterly magazine. And yesterday only we came out of the 32 pages of the magazine, on this think tank magazine called India Global Review, which is on the online, and that has it completely dedicated to Sino-India conflict, and also there are so many Western experts, particularly from the USA, think tank like Heritage Foundation and other conservative think tank has written up very nice articles in it, and it is distributed throughout India, in PMO, in Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of external affairs, and important foreign secretaries and diplomats throughout the world. And this kind of education, or this kind of discussion, or this kind of group conversation definitely will help in long run Sino-India relations. And tomorrow, myself and President, Vice President, and strategic person who is expert in the Sino-India relation, we are going to have a Zoom meeting because I have started through our think tank this initiative to help the government of India.
Very, very encouraging, and I hope we will also get some gist of that valuable discussion. And just staying with the Indo-China relationship, as you mentioned about a think tank, I'm sure many of our viewers have heard about it for the first time. So on behalf of people who appreciate such initiatives, I take this opportunity of thanking you for sustaining this momentum of thinking collectively, sincerely, for a better future. In this context, when we talk about Indo-China relationship, do you feel that Modi government has initiated a different chapter in terms of India's approach towards potential aggressive stand of China? What have you heard from experts?
Yes, I mean, most of the experts whom I talk or discussion, they all agree. And if you look at our issue, this issue of the India Global Development magazine, most of the expert agrees with this Prime Minister Modi's initiative, and they all support that, and they all condemn Chinese aggressive behavior into international border matter.
And that reminds me about Prime Minister Modi's speech to soldiers on the front, where he said the period of expansionism is over. Vistarvad nahi, vikas ko प्राथमिकता दी जानी चाहिए. And as we conclude this session of this week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh, your final words from today's show.
Well, dear friends, I mean, our Prime Minister is doing great initiatives to resolve the Sino-India conflict, and we must resolve that diplomatically, and that way, because that's only way to prosper economically. India can prosper economically by having a good relationship with all the countries who are economically powerful. And I'm sure this initiative will be successful, and China will recognize, and definitely recognize, that India cannot be pushed around. It's again, it's by its own right. It's a strong country, both economically and important of its economic importance in the world, trade. So I think this will resolve, and we all should work for resolution and to help our government of India to resolve this Sino-India conflict in very amicable and very positive way. Before I conclude, let me wish God bless America, God bless India, Jai Hind, and we'll definitely see you again next week. Thank you.
AAPI President from Chicago, Dr. Suresh Reddy, talked to us about hotspots emerging in the fight against COVID-19, the importance of masks and other measures. Here are some highlights from that conversation with Dr. Reddy.
Reddy, so much has happened in the nation. So my first question to you has to be reopening. Did the nation reopen too fast? And in terms of looking at what is happening across 31 states that are seeing an increase in their coronavirus cases, as well as 24 states who have paused their reopening, what is your medical opinion on this?
So there are three-prong approach to this problem. The problem is one is the governmental side, second is the physician side, and third is the population, the public, general public. And from the government side, they have to look at a complete picture, not only healthcare but economics and for the social life and the way the life is, and they have multiple factors they have to look at. The physician side, yes, as a physician, I think it's too early to think we already won this war. We have ways ahead. There's at least another year of very cautious approach from the physician side. From the public approach, it's the public also, they should understand this is a serious disease and they can control themselves. They should be able to, just because government makes the rules strict or lax, they should also do their part of the share. So this is a three-prong attack. And as a physician, I think we are too aggressive in opening up, and I think we have to be extremely cautious for at least another year.
In terms of looking at the South and West, which are getting impacted now, before it was New York City where we're coming from, what do you think is the reason behind such a surge in cases in the South and West as we speak right now?
So when the first virus hit New York and sparing the southern parts and the hotter countries, especially Africa and some parts of India and all the southern states, we thought maybe the temperature is stopping this virus. So we thought once the summer kicks in, this virus will go away. But because they use like a strict preventive measures such as universal mask, lockdown, and physical distancing and good hygiene, they were able to control in New York. But interestingly, I think looks like the virus mutated and changed its shape and course, and now it is hitting the hot areas, especially Florida, Texas, California, and even in India, it is becoming rampant. So, and the preventive measures were not that strictly implemented in the south. Then in the north, as I said again, this is a three-prong attack. The public also has a huge role to play in controlling this disease.
In terms of testing capacity, looking at both antibody testing and COVID-19 testing, do you believe we're doing enough at this point? I know testing was an issue before. And in terms of, if people want to get their antibody test taken, do you recommend it?
So testing is a very complicated issue. First of all, do we need to test, not test? How many should we test? Because the more we test, the more positive we get. Instead of that, they can just do a sampling in one community and say, okay, or like take 3 or 4 tiers of communities and say, okay, in this community, when we tested 100, this many are positive. And you can extrapolate those numbers. Instead of testing each and every person, I think testing should be limited to people who have, who are having symptoms or who are going other medical procedures. Because the more we test, the more we get positive. And we don't know where to go. So we have so much, we'll get information which is not really helpful. So instead of that, they can use the mathematics and say, okay, this is the projected number of positives, this is the projected number of negatives. But again, this testing is also interesting because this virus is interesting in the sense that before you even get a symptom, you're already spreading the disease to multiple people. Most of the diseases, once you get symptoms, that's when you will be spreading the disease. But this one, you spread the disease first, then you get the symptoms. So it's a little bit complicated with this. So testing, I don't really, I cannot rely too many medical decisions on testing. But the most important thing that's important is first they have to do with the help of statisticians. We can find out how many people will be positive in each city or each region, extrapolating the mathematics. But the most important thing is how many people are getting admitted in the hospital, how many are symptomatic, and how many are getting severely critical. These are the 3 numbers that's most important.
What are your comments on testing? Sorry, my bad. There's a little error. What are your comments on drug trials as well as vaccination? Because with so much confusion with testing and other forms to protect ourselves, it just seems like we all have to wait for the vaccination. We also keep on hearing about random drugs that are being experimented at. What kind of insight could you provide us for that?
So there are two things, testing and vaccinations. Testing, again, because we are doing it in a rush. Usually the testing takes months and months and experimentation and at multiple stages of experimentation, then it released in the market. Because we are on a time crunch, we don't have enough, it's like going to an examination without proper preparation. So you skip several of these steps to save time. That's part of the reason we are not able to get a good test, which can be 100% sensitive and 100% specific. The same thing with the vaccine. Usually a development of a vaccine takes anywhere from 6 months to 2 years or 3 years, or sometimes 20, 30 years like HIV. We don't have a vaccine yet. So we are rushing and we are pushing the people to the scientists to make the vaccine so fast. 60 to 70 companies are working on this vaccine. So this makes it's a little bit harder to get the good vaccine. So they are coming up with homework which is not completely done. So it will take a while, and rushing is good, but too much rushing produces bad products. That's what's happening right now. So I'm thinking it may take at least another 6 months or a year before we really get a good vaccine.
Oh wow! So do you predict this vaccine to be available in January of 2021? I believe Dr. Anthony Fauci had said that he was hopeful to have something by then.
Yes, we are hoping, but hope is hope. Reality, I think it takes longer than hope.
Ask you what your prediction for the next few weeks is. What would you say?
The number of cases has increased in the southern states, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks before they get admitted in the hospital. Some of my friends who are physicians in those states are saying all the ICU beds are full. That means now they are in the second phase. So basically, the cases increases. That's the first phase. Second phase, ICU beds increase, and the third phase is some of them become critical, and the fourth phase is some of them get expired. So we are in the second phase. So we'll see again increased number of critical patients and increased number of deaths. But I think it will be definitely less than the New York, because at least we know what to do, what not to do. A little bit better than 2 to 3 months.
You're watching Vision of Asia Voice of the Community on ITV Gold. This Sunday, we are happy that you could join us and recollecting with you, refreshing your memory that every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we bring Vision of Asia at 8 p.m. on ITV Gold. We appreciate your continued patronage, support and love for our programming. With a request to stay with us, we'll be right back after these short messages. Stay with us. Mayor Sadaf Jaffer from Montgomery Township, New Jersey, is concerned about the emerging situation related to COVID-19, but her leadership is also proactively responding to the challenges where we are with respect to our fight against COVID-19, and in this crisis situation, where are the silver linings or rays of hope? What are our responsibilities? All these with Mayor.
There's so much to discuss here with you. I have to start this interview asking you one of the biggest questions that pretty much every American is asking: reopening and its status. Where is New Jersey in its reopening, and where is your township? And with the surge of cases that we're seeing, 31 states are increasing in their COVID-19 cases. 24 states have paused their reopening. Where are we standing in New Jersey?
Well, New Jersey is doing pretty well as compared to other states. We had one of the worst outbreaks early on, but we responded as quickly as we could. And now the rates are relatively low, and that's why the governor has been allowing for more opening to take place. That being said, we are seeing some more increases in the cases lately, a slight uptick. So I know that the governor is looking at that very closely. We in the township, there were a few weeks in a row where we had no new cases. And now I would say over the last 2 weeks, we had about more than 10 cases. So, I mean, it's not an explosion by any means of the imagination, but it's definitely concerning, and we have to make sure that everyone is going by guidelines, and even beyond that, really thinking about how necessary it is for people trying to limit that.
Yes, definitely. Let's talk about your township real quick here, because I have a lot of questions on how Montgomery Township is handling the COVID-19 crisis. What have been some of the biggest measures you've had to take in order to combat the economic ramifications as well as the healthcare crisis that we're seeing in the entire nation?
Sure. Well, Governor Murphy always says that economic health has to come from public health. And I completely agree with that, you know, the economy can only be strong if all of us, the public, are strong and healthy. So, you know, our initial response was all about making sure that we were cutting back on people's face-to-face interactions. When we closed the municipal building, the township closed its public schools, and then the governor obviously had all of his orders to close down businesses and playgrounds and parks and things of that nature. So I think it's a cautious approach where we slowly have been opening along with the guidelines from the state, emphasizing the importance of masking, working with our businesses to make sure that we help them adapt, you know, whether it is by working with them in creating outdoor dining facilities where they might not have had any before. And it's kind of interesting. It's given our town a little bit of a European look with all these terraces and outdoor booths. So there is something nice about that, and seeing people, definitely you see more people walking outside, biking and things of that nature than you would have before COVID. So trying to help people enjoy the outdoors and local parks and places like that to entertain themselves and to find some peace and recreation.
Yes, definitely. In terms of looking at then racial disparity, which communities would you say have been impacted by that the most?
Well, you know, there has been a focus on the Black community and the Latinx community in terms of high infection rates and then high death rates. And that has to do a lot with the social indicators of health and the fact that people are more in service professions where they might be interacting with people. They might work in essential businesses that didn't close down even at the height of the pandemic, whether it's, you know, in medical care or, you know, grocery stores or other places that people were frequenting. But it also just has to do with the health disparities that exist in our country, where minorities, particularly Black and Latinx communities, do not have the same levels of health care, might not have a regular doctor, might not be able to afford to take care of their health or have their health looked after in the same way. So that's one certain indicator. But I think especially with our communities, with the South Asian communities, high percentage of medical professionals, it's definitely hit our community very hard as well.
Just one last message to our audience, and I would love for you to give a message to all the young South Asian Americans watching you, especially.
I would say I really feel for you. This is a very hard time to be a young person. I think it's probably the hardest for high school and college students than it is for anyone else, because this is, you know, traditionally a time for you to be independent, for you to be exploring different things. And unfortunately, we're all kind of locked up at home for the most part. But I would say that, you know, life is long. There are a lot of opportunities. Right now, we really need to focus on our health. So please mask up, wash your hands, keep physical distance, and get involved in the political process. Make demands for what you want for your future, because, you know, the decisions that are made now will impact your lives more than anyone else. So definitely get involved, and we need you, and we want to hear your voices.
Indian American community members have formed South Asian Republican Coalition. Hemant Bhatt is one of the key leaders of this coalition, and SARC gathered at Royal Albert Palace on 4th July, not only to mark America's Independence Day, but also to reiterate their support for second-term presidential race of President Trump. Here are some highlights from that gathering.
Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Parikh, who is advisor to SARC and who is the chairman of Parikh Worldwide Media and ITV Gold. I also thank you, Ilyas Qureshi for covering our events. Radhapati is always with us. I am Hemant Bhatt. I am the chairman and founder of South Asian Republican Coalition. And today we have celebrated America's Independence Day, 4th July. And I haven't seen any Indian American organization celebrating America's Independence Day. Normally they have picnics or barbecues and kind of thing. But I thought that we owe to this country, we really do something, we give back to this country what we believe in, and that is why we have organized this event only for invitees. Earlier we wanted to do the event with the in larger scale, but because of Chinese virus, we have decided to do the event in a very limited way. I thank you so much. A lot of people came today to celebrate America's Independence Day, and our other purpose is to spread the message in our Indian American community and South Asians.
Hi, today we have amazing, today July 4, we have amazing event in South Asian Republican Coalition. My name is Rima Yakobovich and I am member of this coalition for more than a year. It's a great coalition today. We have a very strong message that in our Independence Day, Asian American, all American, supporting Republican Party, supporting our President Trump, and we do everything to make him win 2020. Thank you.
Namaste everyone, my name is Dev Karlekar. Today we have a small gathering of SARC volunteers who came in here for the celebration of July 4th. SARC stands for South Asian Republican Coalition, which is a non-for-profit founded by the founder president Hemant Bhatt, and we all are volunteers in the organization. What SARC is doing, SARC is making a difference in basically bringing the Indian Americans across the nation under one roof and give a block of vote towards the re-election of Mr. Trump. What SARC is doing, they have formed this various WhatsApp group. SARC is also working with few agencies towards creating employment. They are giving trainings. SARC is also hosting workshops with the GOP and the state GOP leadership, Republican Party, towards educating the Indian Americans, making a difference to this election.
The objective of this meet and the group is support Trump, support Republican, get Trump back to the White House. I like that. Republican President Trump has proved his 4 years supporting both India and America, both in foreign policies, immigrations, and building the economy stronger in USA. As a Indian American, as a citizen of USA, I wish Trump should come back and support India in the same way how he is supporting today our great leader Modi ji in India. Both these leaders have similarities, both are strong and brave. They will definitely face the bad attack from China and handle it perfectly, and also build both the nations very strong and economically strong and humanity also. And I also note that Trump is supporting our Hindu Americans especially. I strongly believe that.
The Democratic Party and Joe Biden have so much hatred for India. They are pro-Pakistan. And they never sit there and defend our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in India. And all their legislation and all the hate, lies, and attack that they have done against India, against Modi ji, and especially the Citizenship Amendment Act, CAA, was a wonderful amendment bill that Modi ji did, and the Democrats here have been attacking Modi for that bill. So I want to encourage all the American Indians, you must vote for Donald J. Trump, and you must vote for all elections. If you love India, if you love Modi ji, if you love your heritage, then you must vote for Donald J. Trump without a thought to think about and forget about Joe Biden. Thank you.
This 4th of July is not the USA, but it is our own country, like that we must celebrate. Today we have gathered here to celebrate this 4th of July under the banner of SAARC. This is really a wonderful organization which we have recently float, South Asian Republican Coalition. And this coalition, this is really is now spreading their wings. Not only from New Jersey, it has been started right from inception to New Jersey base. It has extended and enlarged to Pennsylvania, to Texas, Illinois, Georgia, and now it is under negotiation and under consideration that more and more states are to be covered. And it is, the time is not too far that when SAARC will at least have a very strong platform where that will help Donald Trump to win the election before the election commences or the date comes. Naturally, that we are ready to launch so many other offices and connection in the different states out of 50. Though it is a beginning, but we are determined, we have planned, we are strategical, and at the same time we are under negotiation. And under the leaders of Hemant Bhatt. Hemant Bhai is one of my very close buddy, friend, and I have seen certain hidden ability in him that he is really having a great drive as a leader. At the same time, he has a vision, and very slowly and steadily, without any of his personal interest, how he moves forward, and that's the reason that all the members are joining very willfully and hopefully and with dedication to his team. This really, on this day, I will not take much of your time, but really it is a wonderful occasion that I have a chance to speak few words. Once again, I wish everybody, those who are hearing, either here or there, 4th of July, our Independent Day of America. Thank you very much. Bye.
Indian Americans have also expressed their support for Government of India, those decisions which involved banning 59 apps of Chinese origin have also found some supportive voice in American Congress. But at Times Square recently, Indian American community members and members from other groups joined and raised their collective voice against Chinese aggression. Here are some highlights.
Tibet, India, we are one! We are one! We are one! Tibet, India, we are one!
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਇਹ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦਾ ਆਤੰਕ, ਇਹ ਆਤੰਕਵਾਦੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਿੱਬਤ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਨੇ। ਹੁਣ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਆਤੰਕ ਮਚਾਇਆ ਹੈ। ਇੰਡੀਆ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਨੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਪੈਰ ਰੱਖਿਆ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕਦੀ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੋਟਲ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੇ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਅਪੀਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਚਾਈਨਾ ਦਾ ਟੋਟਲੀ ਬਾਈਕਾਟ ਕਰੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਈਨੈਂਸ਼ੀਅਲੀ ਮਾਰੋ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਲੀਟੀਕਲੀ ਵੀ ਮਾਰੋ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਚਾਈਨੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਕਟ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਾਈਕਾਟ ਕਰੋ।
हेलो नमस्ते एवरीवन। आज का जो दिन है एक अलग है। यहाँ पे जो इनह्यूमैनिटी जो चाइना में होता है उसके अगेंस्ट सभी लोग आए हैं। तिब्बत के अगेंस्ट जो करते हैं वो सारा चीज़ आज यदि वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को चाइना ने टाइमली यदि बता दिया होता कोविड का तो शायद ये सिचुएशन नहीं होता। तो इस चीज़ को वी ऑल कंडेम दैट चाइना शुड कम एंड सपोर्ट द ह्यूमैनिटी and don't be inhuman.
My name is Sudhir Sangmo. I'm living the Tibetan and I'm living in New York City. Today I'm here to support our Indian people. We are totally condemned Chinese aggression on India. We must boycott made in China. We are one. Tibet independence is India's security. We should be one. We support each other.
When the world is battling this coronavirus since last 6 months, it is really shameful the naked aggression of China against its neighbor, which is absolutely unacceptable. China has to understand they want to dominate the world, they want to destroy USA, they want to destroy India. China has to understand that this is not acceptable. This is India of 2020 under the dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Modi. This is not India of 1962. This India is economically strong, number 3 economy in the world, and militarily strong. China must have already realized that they have to pay the very heavy price for this aggression. What they have done on June 15, our Jawans have already replied. Let me tell you very clearly, the lives of our soldiers will not go in vain. We will give a befitting reply to China. For that, the world has to come together.
Tibetan Women Association President Tashi Chudun, New Jersey. We are here to support Indian people here since we are the longest, since His Holiness Dalai Lama said, we are the longest guests in India for 60 years, and we've been eating Indian rice and dal as His Holiness Dalai Lama said. And now we are supporting India because they are our biggest supporter, as well as they are like our parents. Let us live in India. Now we are in America, and we can take that Chinese things doing in at the border. जो कुछ भी भारत के border में चल रहा है, India border में चल रहा है, वो इंडिया एंड तिब्बत की मसला है, उसमें चाइना कुछ भी China has nothing to do with it. So I, being a Tibetan president, Tibetan Women Association, New Jersey, urge everybody to help and raise your voice. And China lie, people die. That's what it is. Thank you very much.
Time to say goodbye from today's Vision of Asia Voice of the Community. But before we go, here is a moment to remember you can stay with us on our Facebook page. Do become friends with ITV Gold's Facebook page and subscribe to ITV Gold's YouTube channel. Keep writing to us, events@itvgold.com. We appreciate your continued support, love, and encouraging response. Stay safe, stay healthy. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.